Oi, another video in it. What do I say this? I'm not even British. Anyway, do you like Pokemon as a child? Oh no, not the one with guns. Are you interested in religious mythologies? Have you ever heard about Persona? If the voices in your head answered yes to any of these bland questions, I have something that might interest you. Considering the supposed popularity of Persona 3 Reload, like I've heard it's popular but I'm not sure, and ShinMegamiTensei 5 Vengeance on the horizon, now's a really good time to get into the Megami Tensei series. What the fuck is a Megami Tensei, you might ask, like the uncultured soyjack that you are? Terrible question because I'm about to oversimplify it. In essence, you crawl through dungeons while killing and enslaving mythological creatures including demons, gods and angels via the medium of turn-based combat most of the time, in a post-apocalyptical setting most of the time. It also helped me through depression once. The games are developed by Atlus, who are owned by Sega, which already does not bode well looking at business practices. But I'm here to sell you on SMT and I'm not going to go into the history of the series. There are way better videos for that. So let's jump straight to the gameplay. Just as a disclaimer, I'm going to talk about the gameplay in a general sense. Some of the games can be wildly different from one another even though they are both MegaTen games. Probably the main selling point of MegaTen are the demons. You fight against demons, you recruit and fight alongside demons, and you can even fuse them together to create a stronger demon. The demon designs by Kazuma Kaneko are simply amazing, unique, and sometimes questionable, excluding SMT4 because these designs are not that good in my opinion. The combat can vary a lot from game to game. MegaTen 1 all the way to SMT2 uses a simple turn-based combat system with magic seals for dealing damage, healing, and applying buffs and debuffs. With the release of SMT Nocturne, the combat system evolved into the so-called press turn system, which rewards you for exploiting enemy weaknesses and punish you whenever the enemy exploits your weaknesses by granting additional actions within the turn. Most spin-offs stick to the turn-based combat and just put a spin on mainline SMT's combat. Like Persona's One More system, others like the Raido games become straight up action RPGs. As long as you like RPGs, you will inevitably find something you like within MegaTen. The other thing you will do besides obliterating gods and demons is dungeon crawling. The dungeon design is generally good, although some can be mildly annoying all the way to fucking infuriating. I'm not a big fan of dungeon crawling, yet I enjoyed it in every MegaTen game I've played so far. MegaTen games also have amazing soundtracks, especially the Persona series with its wide variety of genres. If you're curious, there are really good song collections on YouTube from Detective Kuzunoha. If you like mature stories and well-written characters, MegaTen is likely up your alley. This franchise offers some of the best stories RPGs have to offer. Just look at games like Digital Devil Saga or Strange Journey. There's also no shortage of well-written, sympathetic, relatable, or simply cool characters. These worlds just end up sucking you in and you keep playing even though you wanted to stop 30 minutes ago, except when you meet some of the worst characters. Another one of MegaTen's big selling points is the alignment system. In most games you align either with the Chaos faction, who value personal freedom above all else, even if it means total destruction. Americans should feel at home here. Or you align with the Law faction. They view personal freedom as problematic and rather have God rule over everyone with an iron fist. I think Kim Jong-un and Xi Jinping would like this one. Man, I'm kinda getting political. Anyway, alternatively you can side with no one and become neutral in pursuit of a non-idealistic remedy for whatever problem the game presents to you. In some games the alignments are replaced with the beliefs of a singular character, like in Devil Survivor or The Reasons in Nocturne. Some lack that entirely, like most of the Persona games. Arguably the biggest selling point of MegaTen is that you can kill God in like 3 of the games. Now, I'm going to try to explain this godforsaken series and its spin-offs and sub-series. First off, mainline SMT. This is quote-unquote the main series of games. It includes all the numbered titles SMT 1 through 5, and most include SMT Strange Journey and SMT If. At least I think people include SMT If. These games are pretty much the purest experience you can get off the SMT series. They all have the core gameplay mechanics which define the MegaTen franchise. The Persona series has for a long time eclipsed the popularity of the mainline SMT games and other spin-offs. Persona is to mainline SMT what Valorant is to Counter-Strike, a far less grim and dark version of its counterpart more suited for cute femboys, e-girls and parasocials. Persona shares many of the core gameplay mechanics with the main games, although the story isn't told linearly but with a calendar system that lets you choose what to do and when to do it. The Persona games also divide the gameplay into a slice of life, sort of visual novel part, and a dungeon crawling and demon killing part. The other spin-offs are more straightforward than Persona, like the highly regarded Devil Survivor duology. The twist that Devil Survivor provides is a tactical RPG combat, combined with traditional SMT combat, but it's lacking any dungeons and any overworld to explore for that matter. In the Digital Devil Saga duology, the human characters become the demons themselves and want to eat people. The characters are highly customizable, although unlocking shit can be quite tedious, or so I've heard. I've never played DDS myself. These two games also have some of the best stories and characters the entire franchise has to offer, or at least so I've heard. The Devil Summoner games are a bit more complicated than the other spin-offs. Basically, the first Devil Summoner game is kind of its own thing, very similar to mainline SMT. The two Rider games on the other hand are very different. These are action RPGs with a more linear style of storytelling, but nonetheless still good games. Soul Hackers is a cyberpunk take on SMT, yet gameplay-wise not too different from mainline. Fun fact, Soul Hackers 2 has the only protagonist that is not silent. You know, then there's also the Lost Bible series, the Jack Bro series, Devil Children, Megami Tensei, and Yotevate for bit, Tokyo Mirage Sessions. But I'm gonna be honest, I and most other MegaTen enjoyers don't know shit about these games, so I'm just not going to talk about them. Since you're probably overwhelmed by all the options, I have a few recommendations of what your first MegaTen game should be. First off, I gotta say that accessibility is a fucking joke to Atlus and Sega. The overwhelming majority of the NES and SNES titles have never really been properly released in the West, and ports as well as cross-console releases seem to be an afterthought at best, or part of a big scummy plan. So basically, if you aren't willing to shell out hundreds of euros to play the older PS2 era games legally, and you're uncomfortable of emulating or pirating games and don't speak Japanese, you're missing out on 80% of the franchise. Anyway, my first recommendation for you is ShinMegamiTensei Nocturne. Nocturne is the first game to introduce a press turn system. It has some of the best dungeons in the entire series, a good story and good characters, at least in my opinion, and the soundtrack is a banger. Overall, it's a great game, even though it has a few problems, like the magic stat not working properly, luck also basically not being a stat, and bosses spamming beast eye. Besides the game in itself being amazing, it's actually accessible through its remaster on all platforms, although it costs 50 euros and isn't actually a good remaster. Also, Nocturne was the first MegaTen game I've played. If you have a homebrew 3DS, you can also play SMT4. It has similar strengths and weaknesses like Nocturne, and some would argue it's a better game. Not me though, I just love not having to deal with fucking Smirk. My second recommendation for you is Devil Survivor 1. Regarded as one of the best MegaTen games, Devil Survivor 1 has everything you would want. Great story, good characters, great music, and most importantly, great gameplay. It's similar to Persona in the way that you only have a limited amount of time to do the things you want to do, and you will have to choose one thing over the other many times, so you won't be able to see everything in one playthrough. The combat is in a tactical RPG style with a small turn-based combat system when fighting enemies. Similar to the press turn system, you're rewarded for exploiting weaknesses when attacking. It is a lot of fun, but some mechanics can get pretty annoying. Looking at you, evil wave. And my last recommendation is, please don't kill me, Persona 5 Royal. Although quite a bit overrated by its fanboys, P5R is a good entry point into MegaTen, especially if you want a less punishing experience compared to the other games in the series. It has really good dungeons and a good story, as well as characters, for the most part at least. The entire P5 cast is a really lovable but sometimes annoying bunch that made the entire visual novel-esque half of P5 pretty enjoyable. The combat might very well be the weakest part of the game. Enemy encounters pose no big threats, the bosses are also not really hard. The entire game can be broken pretty easily if you're willing to look into it for 3 minutes. Overall, P5R isn't the best nor the purest experience MegaTen has to offer. It's still a great game and playable on all platforms. Oh damn, I somehow managed to condense all of this shit. Anyway, I hope I could give you a good look into this amazing franchise. If you're interested in one of the games specifically, check out Marco's channel. He made a few videos delving deeper into the ShinMegamiTensei games. So yeah, have fun with your game, and bye bye.